Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 239 of The Ball is Round. My name is Andy Coronado, and tonight on the show, we'll discuss CF Montreal's loss versus the New York Red Bulls and Roses FC classified for the playoffs after a win against the Halifax Tides FC, and much more. As always, I'm joined tonight by my man, Elias Gregoriades. And he comes in with the pie. Hey man, I just moved my camera a little bit down. I realized that was probably the worst move I could do because now I've really shown too much.
Bad
But
composition, man.
how you doing, man? How's everything?
I'm not, you know, I'm not. I'm doing good, man. Barcelona, both Barcelona's won, Roses
Yeah,
won. I can't think of any other sports teams. Um, but
that
yeah,
was.
man, hey, no such thing as a perfect soccer weekend, unfortunately. But you know what? 3 for 4 ain't so bad. So
Hey,
you
listen,
take what you can get.
I was doing the math, Elias, and I actually realized that today, if my math is right, I might be wrong, is your 125th episode with The Ball is Round.
Is it really? Jesus.
125 episodes of Elias. And me, it's 52. Hey, it's going by freaking
We
fast,
skipped your
man.
50th. We skipped your 50th episode. That's a bummer.
Nah, the
Yeah,
50th was,
125. Holy shit. That's
yeah. If my
oh
math is right,
wow.
though. Okay, I try to do the math there. But yeah, man. Congrats. It's been a bit. You've hit a milestone. You maybe by episode 150 you'll have one gray hair because I know I have a billion.
Oh no, I'm just see that's the thing. I'm a master of angles of tons. I cover CF Montreal. What are you talking about? I've got millions. You just can't see them right now.
Literally, the moment you show up to Stade Saputo, one white hair comes out of your hair.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty
man,
much
and
at this point.
it's just in general, just CF, like not just CF Montreal, any Montreal sports team, it just learns to break your heart all the time. But anyways, yes, we had a good weekend. Overall, fun stuff. You know, we always do enjoy watching soccer, whether they win or lose. It's all fun. It's all fun for us, right? But guys, those of us who are
Positivity.
those
The
of you who are
power of
with,
positivity and delusion. Yes.
yes, and as Mr. Patrick is, good evening, boys. Here we go for the good and the bad times. Because what else are we gonna have, right? So we're gonna have it all together in one scoop. So, guys, make sure if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to tell us, go ahead and put in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and interact with you guys as we always do here live. Before we get started into the fun stuff, just a quick reminder that if you listen to the show and like what you hear slash see, click on the subscribe button to support The Ball is Round. While you're at it, make sure to also subscribe to all of our social media platforms for daily updates. Elias and I are on a Blue Sky, X, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. We're also on TikTok. We're doing little dances. No, we're not doing little dances, but
Don't sign me up for shit, man, that I'm not gonna do.
Elias doing little dances. But
Yeah,
no,
not
just
on your life.
but anyways, so let's get right into it, right? Let's go ahead. We're gonna just get started with Roses FC because we gotta start with the fun stuff. Then the fun they played
Just
on
a little bit. Just a little bit.
they played on Thursday night. I was at Stade Boreal. Dude, what a party! For those of you that are listening, that are watching, if you were at Stade Boreal on Thursday night, it was a party. I mean, you had Sam Piet from CF Montreal there. You have Victor
Mhm.
Latour also visiting. Hey, Robbie. Yes, everything is good. And Robbie's giving us a shout out tonight. Um, so, yeah, it was really fun that they had a DJ at halftime. Again, party environment. It really felt like you had to win. You couldn't lose in that kind of environment. And luckily, for those that showed up, they did win. Right, and
Yeah.
honestly, it was so funny because we were in the press box, and I was talking to some journalist that was there. And at halftime, Elias, I don't know if you saw it on TV, but the lights turned off completely in the
I did
stadium.
see that. Well, I saw it on Twitter. I didn't
And
see
I
it on
swear we all started turning around to each other. We're like, not the Canadian Championship again. Not the Canadian. We're like, this can't be happening.
God.
No, we got worried. Like, this is not happening right now. And it wasn't. It was part of the show, and they did a fantastic job with it. But let's talk about Roses FC. I just wanted to
Let's
give
do
you
it.
guys kind of a
Yeah.
little idea. Those of you that haven't gone to a Roses FC game, definitely go see it. It's really worth the trip. Um,
100%.
so Roses FC classified for the playoffs after as I mentioned, after midweek game versus Halifax Tide FC. Before we look at the changes that have been made and all that, I just want to kind of hear, Elias, What are your thoughts when you hear that Rose FC qualified for the?
Look, there was no real look. Frankly speaking, right? Just from a purely mathematical point of view, you look at the table. That's not really a concern, right? It's they have a pretty healthy advance on Calgary and Halifax, who are not doing great. But it's still nice to just have your place in the playoffs. It's nice to just stake your claim and have it, because now that's outside of your brain, right? There's no worst case scenario. There's no this, that, or the other. You're in the playoffs. You are in the semifinals no matter what. So yeah, I wasn't too elated. I was more like, especially given the start of the season, I was like, okay, good. You followed up on it. You managed to see yourself past a tough time. No wins in 5 games. It's not ideal for a team that's trying to fight for the top of the table. And nice, clean 2-0 win, secure playoffs. Good. You can you give yourself a little pat on the back, and then you realize that okay, yeah, there's still, we have a game in hand, and we're 6 points behind first place. So you can now go start shooting for, the top of the table again. So that's really like what my thought process to that.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird feeling because you do want to be happy for Rose FC. It's their inaugural season, right? It's everybody's inaugural season, the NSL's, and you kind of want to feel happy. You do, but at the same time, Elias, we talked about in this show, they came out so strong to start the season. You were like, there's not a chance that Rose FC misses the playoffs. They look like a knockout team. They look like they're gonna, just what are they like? They just look like they're
100%.
playing at another level. But then they just went through this phase, and again, we talked about in this show, right, where it was just like, what's happening right now? What's going on? And so now it feels like you mentioned, right? Like, yes, they made it to the playoffs, and it's out of mind. Like, that doesn't stress you out anymore. But there's still questions to be asked whether they are a playoff team, whether they really are the real deal. I mean, you qualified because you beat Halifax, who was last place, and the week before you played at Calgary 5-0. But Calgary was a mess. I haven't seen their game since, but it does, kind of beg the question, like, did they deserve it? Is it deserving? Are they at a stage where they, I mean, again, we'll talk about the game in a bit, but I just wanted to kind of, that reaction where I was like, you're happy, but at some point you kind of expected it from this team, and then all of a sudden they disappointed, and now we're back to, you expect more from this team, right? So we talked about in this show, changes needed to happen for Roses FC when they were going through a very bad phase during the midseason. Coach Robert Rosatoyu made some tactical and personal changes in the past weeks, which has produced wins. Can you maybe show us the lineup, Elias? And we're going to go ahead and look at what was done on Thursday. And again, this is just Thursday's game, but there were also, as you guys probably saw last week, there were also changes. We had Tanya Boychuk on the top, Noemi Paquin on the left, Charlotte Bibo on the top, and Sherim Kang on the right side as a right winger. Then when midfield, we had Chloe Minas and Alexandra Hess. I'm sorry about that. And at left back, we had Megan Sauvé. Center back, Stephanie Hill, Julia Leas, and Haley Whitaker back at right back. And at goalie, Elias, we had Gabrielle Lambert, which was a point of discussion in this show about the goalie position. But there were a lot of points of discussion as to what was going on with the lineup. What'd you think of this, these changes that you saw?
I was really happy. We talked about it a bit last week, right? About how, you're playing Calgary twice, you're playing Halifax twice over the next 4 games, or Halifax twice after the Calgary game, Halifax twice and Calgary once in the next 3. And you have to, of course, obviously secure those points because they're points that need to be taken, but you also have to work on some stuff. And I'm happy that, the staff didn't rest on their laurels because, again, Halifax is unbeaten in their last 3 games against Montreal before Thursday night. It was 2 draws and a win. So they didn't, go, oh, it's last place, whatever. We'll just, do what we have to do and then get out of there. No, they worked on a new thing, the 4-2-3-1. We talked a bit about how Chloe Minas was interesting, but she can't work in just a midfield 2. We saw her in a midfield 3, and she looked infinitely better. I don't know about you, but I think she looked much more comfortable in possession. And again, Charlotte Bidbo and Alexandra Hess kind of split the physically demanding workload, and they let Chloe Minas kind of, just break lines and look for pockets of space. Charlotte Bidbo as a 10 is fantastic. I love it, right? I love every bit of it, especially if she's going to get the chance to kind of play out the rest of the season in that position to kind of be ready and more comfortable in that spot for playoffs. But I think honestly, right now, with the people you have at your disposal and how good Megan Sauvé is playing at left back, a 4-2-3-1 is the way to go. It
Yeah.
has to be, because everybody looked better. Everybody looked more concise. And again, you're playing last place, but this is the last place team that has proven that they can frustrate Montreal and they can do it consistently. So this is a team that shows up to games against Montreal. For some reason, it feels like only Montreal sometimes, where they're super organized, they come to play, and they match up perfectly with that 4-4-2 that Montreal has been deploying all season. So they switched it up to a 4-2-3-1, and they looked so much better. They were finding spaces in behind. They were combined every single part of it. And honestly, the three in the midfield helped unlock that. So if they're going to keep going forward with this, we talked about this ad nauseum, the fact that they need a 10, they need the chance creator, they need to be able to outnumber people in the midfield instead of just willing their way forward. And they did it. And instantly it was like a breath of fresh air. So you know what? I'm all for them continuing to try this out. I think it's all 100% deserved. And again, you also have to give credit where credit is due, because the coaching staff, you can rest on your laurels. I need a draw against last place to make the playoffs, and then they could have just played it safe and know what they've done all season. No, they went and they tried something new, and it paid off handsomely. And I hope to see them, whether it's Felicia Roy or Chloe Menas, whether it's whatever, if Monier takes a spot in that front three, whether Megan Sauvé steps up, right? There's a bunch of different combinations you can now use, but the overall philosophy, I think, suits them in possession much better.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think, to me, the past 2 weeks, we talked about in the show about the changes, and I was like, what change could happen now? And the changes that Coach Robert Rosatorio has done to this team has been incredible, because to me, the biggest change, you mentioned a lot about the midfield and all that, and I agree with you. There was change. But to me, the biggest change beyond that is having moved Megan Sauvé as a left back, and Noémie Paquin. I don't know what set her off. I don't know what maybe a conversation, maybe the position she's being placed on is something she's a lot more comfortable with, but she is playing lights out the past 2 weeks. She just technically, she is so advanced, and just she's leaving a lot of players in the dust for the other team. And that's something that, to me, has brought out, these changes have brought out the best for Noémie Paquin and for also for Megan Sauvé. I felt like Megan Sauvé maybe felt a little too much pressure being placed more offensively and wasn't really producing. And that's something that, with this new formation and Noémie Paquin performing so well, Megan Sauvé Megan Sauvé has actually thrived under this role, and she's been very good defensively. So, big change. I do like that. I was very surprised to see Charlotte Bibeau play so high. I actually saw her play higher than Tanya Boychuk, and I was like, wait, what is happening right now? But she has so much aggressiveness, and at some point, Elias, I don't know if you saw it on TV, but it was incredible, because she just went up to a crowd which was right in front of the press box, and she just yells at the top of her heart, yeah! So she was feeling it. She was in the moment, and it's clear the players are buying into Coach Rosatoyo's new tactic change. Obviously, it's probably impacted some players like Claire Moniard, that doesn't start anymore. Haley Whitaker did start again. Personally, I don't find a big difference in her play. I thought she was solid, maybe a little less offensive. Maybe they told her to back off being so offensive this time. But it was definitely something that's worked. The change, to me, has worked and has improved this team. Now, the question becomes, there's 4 games left in the season. They qualify for the playoffs. What do we want to see for the rest of the season for Rosa?
I want to see them nail down this formation, right? You're changing formations and overall, at least going forward, overall philosophies in possession. And it's not going to happen, you beat last place with it. Good job. But that's not going to just, help you win the playoffs automatically. So I'd love to see them stick with it. I'd love to see them get some different players into those spots to see how they fit. But honestly, it's just now about nailing down the understanding and what is expected of them in each position, because again, Lucy Capadonna is out injured. Julie is a very capable replacement, but that's a huge gap in defense, and you also have to kind of take that into account. You have to nail down the right back position, because we talked about Megan Sauvé, Laura Schenk, Jody Smith are all capable and very effective at left back. But the right back position is a bit more hot and cold, right? We've seen the best of Hayley Whitaker where she's unplayable and nobody can match up with her and she just dominates that right side. We've seen games where she has her difficulties. So now it's more just about getting that consistency for the last, was it 5 games left in the season? And again, the last 2 games of the season are against Vancouver and Toronto, right? Those are playoff games. Those are teams you will be playing to make it to the final, right? I mean, there's no Ottawa there, which is another possible matchup. But those last 2 games, those are basically playoff preparation games now. Those are chances, obviously, for you to win points and move up the standings, obviously, but it's also a chance for you to kind of measure yourself. And it's going to be super important for them to come out comfortable and as effective as possible, because I guarantee you other teams are going to be treating this as a playoff game as well. You want that psychological edge. You want to go into the playoffs having just beat a team, right? Yeah. So especially if they can do it with home field advantage, I think it's super effective and so crucial.
Yeah, and I want to see the same thing for the next 4 games. What I want to see is that they kind of find an identity, because since Latif Abdul has left, it kind of shocked, I think, not just the fans but the team itself. They were kind of trying to find what works, what is the new, who's the new target person that's going to be able to be the scorer of the team and all that. And Noemi Paquin, like, as I mentioned several times, kind of was the surprise of all this, right? She's really come on top and has played at another level. And that to me is important, because that's what I want to see. Was it just lucky that Noemi Paquin played so well with very bad teams, as we mentioned, or is she someone that can lead this team, that is the potential to maybe even play for the national team? Maybe I'm talking too much right now, but maybe she is actually very talented and she just needed that little push, or that maybe a different kind of change. But I want to see an identity from Roses FC moving forward until the end of the season, because as we've seen in this from this team, Elias, in the past, is they can come out swinging with a different formation with different players. Nobody knows what to expect, but other teams learn. They learn really fast. You play each team 5 times in one season, they're all going to learn. Hey, all you got to do is isolate Noemi Paquin. All you got to do is make sure that Tiana Bochuk isn't too high. Whatever it is, teams are going to learn. So what does Coach Robert Rostatoyo at that point do? Does he know, does he have that flow of communication with his team throughout the game that he can quickly change a formation if he sees that the other teams are adapting? So that's something we're going to have to see in the next 4 games. But based on what you've seen so far from Roses FC up to today, do you think that they are a playoff team?
100%. 100%. They deserve it, right? And it's not just because they beat Calgary and they beat Halifax, right? They've beat every team in the league. And they've done it confidently, right? So yeah, in the last maybe month or so, or the end of the summer, games against those top teams have been a bit trickier. But this is still a team with the quality to measure up with, the best and be the best. So absolutely, they're a playoff team. In fact, I think that, especially if they get this 4-2-3-1 clicking, I'd put them as one of the favorites.
Right. I think they are, like, if you would have asked me this 3 weeks ago, which we didn't really ask ourselves, but if you asked me the same question 3 weeks ago before the whole tactical change, Elias, I'm telling you, not really, because the coach is not adapting to change. He's not really adapting to anything. But
maybe they watch the show because they're listening to us,
Look, coach, hear me out, okay? But
no, let me get my whiteboard. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's one of those things that you want to make sure that they're changing. And so now, yes, today I feel that the coaches did a good change of adapting it, of changing it, and that's good. That's good to see, because the playoffs are right around the corner, right? Now, based on what you see in their lineup, because injuries happen, suspensions can happen. We saw a red card on Thursday night. Coach Anton Goldrunner, which was really funny in any case, but whatever. No, red card's never funny. But anyways, things can happen. In my opinion, Elias, the biggest thing that worries me about this team moving forward and deeper into the playoffs against better teams and teams that are also hungry to be the first champions of the NSL is how deep is their bench? How deep is their bench that once a player gets tired, injured, or whatever it is, guys, how deep is their bench that they can look at someone and say, you're a goal, I need to score 3 goals right now. You can go in and help me. Do they have that in the bench? Because the best teams in any sport, Elias, in my opinion, any sport has the best bench. It's not really who's necessarily on the field, but who's there to back them up whenever they're tired or whatever it is. Do you think this is the kind of team that can go deep into the playoffs?
Yeah, they are, right? Monyao, Roy, Smith, Sheng, right? And assuming Capadonna will be healthy in time for playoffs, I'm guessing she'll get her starting spot back,
She's
and
not
Julia
injured, by
Lee.
the way, huh? Cabadana?
She
She's
wasn't in
not.
the start. She wasn't in the lineup
No,
at all,
but
though.
it was just the rest. It was just that I did ask
Okay,
around. I did ask around because it was my first reaction. I said, "Why is Lucy
I thought she
Capadonna
was
not
in.
a?"
I thought she was
No, no,
injured.
no.
Yeah.
She's
Okay,
just rest
that's
in
that's
management.
even better news. But
Yeah,
I'm assuming when Lucy Capadonna comes back,
yeah,
she'll be in, the starting 11. Having Julia Lees come off the bench again is very good. So if we're talking about having a full second 11, maybe not. But if you're talking about, I have 4 or 5 substitutions that I know I can make that will, if not change the game, at least keep the level where it's supposed to be. They have that, right? And so from a depth perspective, I think right now they're okay. Obviously, I think that's what they should improve on in the offseason is bring in more depth, more competition to kind of raise the overall level. But for the first season, for right now, and for the state of the league currently, I think they have more than enough depth for the last 4 games in a playoff run.
yeah. And then it's just something we're gonna keep a close eye on because it's important, right? We're gonna see how Rose FC performs in the playoff. I think more than anything, it's important to see how they're gonna do, what they're what they're testing out for the playoffs because it's a lot of things are gonna change. So that does it for the Roses FC. Before we move on to our next topic, we're gonna go ahead and have a little message from our sponsor. Hello, the Ball is Rounders. This show is sponsored by AR Design. You guys know that in the show we talk about rebuilding and changes in the playing field and how change of scenery could maybe help some players, staff, anybody. But what about you? What about when you and your partner start thinking maybe about making some changes around the place, maybe about some spicing things up around the house, right? I can tell you that in my case, as you can see in my background, I need some change. This is why I reached out to, wait, my wife reached out to Allison from AR Designs to bring some change in my space. You can't see it now, but over the next few weeks, this room is about to get a little funky with the way it looks. Look around your place now. Can you see it? Could it maybe look a little bit nicer? If you don't think so, then ask your partner. I thought Allison will come to my place and turn the place upside down right away. But before changing anything, she made sure to really understand what my vision was for our place and what budget we were working for. And based on that, she gave us some advice and some ideas as to what our place could look like in the future. And that's when we knew that we had reached out to the right person. All it takes is a simple conversation. Like a soccer team working together for the perfect goal, AR Interior Design coordinates every detail of your interior design project so your home comes together beautifully. From concept to final touches, Allison makes sure every element works in harmony. Visit ardesign.ca today to see her latest interior design project or follow the links that you see below me on her Instagram, email, or the website, or you can just find the links on the YouTube description. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, AR Design. Thank you for our sponsor. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic. So no podcast can have everything good, right, Elias? We gotta have a little bit of
Especially not in Montreal. I don't know what you're keep dreaming, man.
because it can't all be good. It's gotta be a little bit of bad. So CF Montreal, fill in the blank, lost against New York Red Bulls last night. At Stade Saputo, literally, Elias, when I was writing that, I just copy pasted from last week. Just change the team. Sorry, that's mean. But yeah, so they lost against the New York Red Bulls. If you can pull up the lineup, we're gonna go ahead and look at what the lineup was for last night. At goal, we had Gillier back. We had Jalen Neal back. We had Petros on the left back. Hidalgo, was that his first start? I'm not sure.
His first start, yeah.
Yeah, Hidalgo's first start. Efrain Morales back in the lineup. Samuel Piet in midfield. And Ivan Haim on the left. Sinchuk on the right. Loturi on the mid. Silly on the right, I want to say, because I believe Sinchuk was playing a little bit more of a 10. And Owusu in the 9, right? And usually I don't mention this, Elias. I only mention the starting lineup, but I also do want to mention the subs here. Okay, because at the sub we had Craig, Longstaff, Duke, Herbers, Bugai, Escobar, Graham Roach, Kuboglu, and Sirois. Because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the starters and the subs because they did have an impact on this game. So, what were your impressions? Let's start with the defense and the goalkeeping, okay? Because last week we saw Sirois, and this
Yeah.
week we see Juliet. And on the defense, it feels like a completely different back line from last week. Fernando Alvarez was not
I
even
mean,
starting.
it basically is a completely different lineup from last week, right? Hidalgo, new start. Jalen Neal, I think we were all surprised, right? They said 4 to 6 weeks. I was, I was assuming if it was closer to 6 weeks, it was going to take him all the way until decision day, and he's not going to play one game. So he was done for the season. But 4 weeks and 4 weeks and like 2 days after that email went out where they said Jalen Neal's undergone appendix surgery, he's back. So you know
Yeah.
what? Shout out to him. Shout out to the the staff for getting him ready. He came on and he looked great. He looked every bit the Jalen Neal that we saw earlier in the season. I can't wait for him next year to get a consistent run of games because his potential is humongous. And the same goes for Fred Morales, right? I'm not going to blame him on the first goal. I think that was a foul.
Yeah.
The fact that Luturi and the guy that fouled Morales were kind of jostling for position is my guess is the reason why VAR didn't overturn it, because if Luturi didn't initiate any contact there, that's a stone cold foul. There's no justification for why that wasn't a foul. He literally bear hugged him and brought him down.
Mhm.
So it is what it is. I don't really blame anyone there. That's just really rotten luck. And then Tamajigi, of course, is left, basically with nothing he can do. It's a free header. But the second goal, yeah, Efrain Morales gets burnt by one of the best strikers in MLS. And Tamajigi, I feel he could have done a bit better there. Getting beat through the legs never looks good for a goalie. I'm not an adept enough in the technique and the requirements of a good keeper to be like, when someone aims between your legs, you do the no. Could you have done better? Probably. Am I qualified to say? Absolutely not. I still think Tamajidi is the number one goalie, and I still think Efrain Morales and Jalen Neal are the center back pairing for next year because they are quite complementary. And for two guys that have literally never played together ever, they looked pretty good. They looked good in possession. They looked adventurous when they had the ball, and they broke a couple lines. I enjoyed it. And yeah, Luca Petrasso was Luca Petrasso, and the most Luca Petrasso performance you could ask for. And Bodi Hidalgo is, I don't know how I feel about Bodi Hidalgo.
Yeah.
I really like it. Again, it's tough to say off of one game, but I really like it.
I think, look, I'll start with this because you did mention something. Buddy Hidalgo doesn't really I don't know how I feel about it. I think that's better, especially for his first start with CF Montreal. In my opinion, that's much better than being like, I don't like Buddy Hidalgo, what I saw yesterday because of this and that. In the sense
That's
that
true.
the quality did not drop tremendously from having David Bugay. Yes, Robbie, we're trying to stay positive, but yeah, no, Body Hidalgo did not really impress in the sense that wow, it's Body Hidalgo, but at the same time, I don't know if the ball was played too much through him, like it usually is with David Bugay and Henari Senchuk when they're trying to attack that right side. But I mean, he did his job. I think we need to have a few more run of games before we can actually do a fair judgment on him. Efrain Morales and Jalen Neal, at the beginning, I felt like they struggled the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. I felt like not between each other, but they kind of
Mhm.
struggled to create anything. They didn't seem to be able to connect with their midfielders, or they didn't seem to be able. But as the game went on, especially for Efrain Morales, I felt like his long ground passes to Henari Sinchuk were money. And same with Jalen Neal. They were ground passes, not up above. Like they were really long passes and
Yeah.
straight to them, and it actually gave CF Montreal a lot of opportunities. So I really like that combination, and it gives me a reason to believe for 2026 that if those two are return as starting center backs for CF Montreal in 2026, there is a serious reason to believe. Now, if they are the starters, will both of them finish 2026 in a CF Montreal uniform?
God,
Doubt
I hope so.
it. Doubt it, because especially
But I mean, your comments kind of bring forward a question we got from Mark. Unless CF Montreal get faster defenders, we abandon two central defenders model. Also, is now time to replace Samuel Piet. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think you abandon the four back. I think it's working tremendously, and I think that you add some more stuff where it's not needed because they played three at the back last year with faster defenders, and they conceded 63 goals. So that's clearly the an extra defender is not the problem. A stabilizing force defensively, we're going to get there when we talk about the midfield, Patrick. I completely agree with you, but we're going to get to it. I really think the bigger problem here is just the fact that, well, I guess this is a good segue into the midfield. The midfield was terrible yesterday.
Yeah, but before we get there, because I did want to say this about Luka Picasso, okay? Because I guess we have a lot to say about the midfield, but to me, and we've said in this show a lot of times, Luka Picasso does his job. He does it well, and we like it. But I need a left back, especially if you're gonna sign a DP, even Jaime. I need a left back that has the it factor, in the sense that I'm tired of having a left back that just does their job and comes in and plays 90 minutes and plays okay. You need a left back that is a little more impactful. How many MLS teams have we played that have young or older left backs, right backs that are impactful in the game, that they bring the it factor to it, you know? So I like what Luca Petrasso brings to the team. I think he's impactful in his own way, in the sense that he does his work, but he doesn't have the it factor that yesterday he again, he didn't play bad, but I think there was one cross, I forgot what minute it was, that it just went, you're not sure really what he's thinking with that cross. It
It
went
was like five crosses like that.
across the field, and you're like, what is he looking at? What is he
Yeah.
seeing? Is he following another, does he have another offensive flow that is not in line with his forwards? So that's where I'm at with him. I would love to
I
have.
agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think that, going forward in possession, he was not at his best yesterday. My other problem, though, lies with the fact that he was open so much.
Yeah.
And Ivan Jaime is an exceptional player, and we're going to get to his exact contributions. But all you have to do, Ivan, is just look to your left. He's right there.
Yeah.
He's right there. He was alone. There was at least two or three occasions where Petrasso, when I say Petrasso was alone, I mean he was like nobody within 6 meters, not 6 feet of him. Right.
Yeah.
He had all the time in the world, and you could see him like begging for the ball. And Jaime combined. I mean, Jaime didn't lose the ball. It's not like he looked him off, then lost the ball. He tried something else, which I understand. But you've got to look at your side, man, especially because everyone's going to be gravitating towards you. All that space on the left side opened up, and Petrasso was in a perfect position. And, we'd be talking about his game a lot differently if Jaime gave him one or two of those passes, and he gets a goal or he creates a chance,
Yeah.
If this is talking about Jaime, I get it, right?
Yeah.
I get it. You come from playing in La Liga, you come from playing in Liga. I still call it Liga Nos, but Liga Portugal. Yeah, I understand why you're just used to a certain level, and you're now looking for players to go from, at least from just a pure skill perspective. You go, I trust you. I'll give you the ball. So I get that. I think Sinchuk is one of those guys. Prince is definitely one of those guys. They combined a bunch last night.
Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna get into the specifics of
You're getting
Jaime's
ahead.
game.
Yeah.
But Petrasso specifically, I think we have a completely different conversation about his game and his performance if Jaime gives him the ball.
You're right. You're right that he did place himself well offensively. You're right. And it's a combination between Hennady Sinchuk even Jaime and Luca Petrasso, where they have to kind of understand each other's game. But that's where I'm talking about. It's like, did Luca Petrasso understand Ivan Heisman's game? Did they understand each other, like what they were trying to do? Because I did take a snippet earlier and put it on my X page of literally Luca Petrasso right in front, 1v1 the goalie, and Jaime with the ball, and he decides to shoot with two defenders in front of him. It didn't make sense to me. But we'll get to Ivan Jaime. But Luca Petrasso, I just felt like in crucial moments,
you need more. Absolutely.
The it factor from a left back, right? That you see a lot. But that's enough of that on Luca Petrasso. So let's go ahead and move on with the midfield, where we had Samuel Piet and Victor Lotori.
Well, look, building on the second part of
Yes.
Mark's question, Yeah, respectfully to Samuel Piet, you guys know how I feel about Samuel Piet. I love Samuel
Mhm.
Piet. He does things that nobody in Montreal and very few people in all of MLS are capable and willing
Yeah.
to do. That being said, it's clear that he's missed a month and a half. And giving him two consecutive starts, I don't understand. I was talking about this with Max Truman, how the first one, his game against St. Louis was horrible, it was terrible. And this game here was kind of a, you're a legend at this club, you're the captain, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. You needed maybe a game to kind of get back to into the rhythm, go out there and show. And yeah, he was less bad, but he still was not good.
Yeah.
He still was not good. Victor Lutri was not good either. Neither of them were at the level that we've seen them play at. But I
The
think
midfield was
for
wide open. The midfield was wide
exactly,
open.
and especially if you're going to play against a team like Red Bulls, especially if you're going to play against a team that has Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting and ML Forsberg, who, to be fair, they kept ML Forsberg quiet all game, right? They did a great job. And look, I still think Samuel Piet has an important position on this team. My problem is it cannot be as a starter, not anymore,
Mhm.
right? I think that they need at least one. When I say top midfielder, I mean designated player level midfielder, and then another one to help. Because Victor Laturi, who's 23 years old, I think has shown a lot of good things. I think he can be a great facilitator, and he could do a lot of the work that maybe a higher level designated player won't have to do to kind of focus on their quality. But yeah, like Patrick said, right, help kill off games. That's also great. But for the last 3 games of the season, I don't think he should start. I think the starting should fall to, a combination of Longstaff, Laturi, Herbers, Duke. I think those four should be in the starting picture. Samuel Piet can absolutely come off, and I by no means want him to leave next year. I want him at the club. I think the club needs someone like Samuel Piet there 1,000,000%. But as a starter, it's not that he's a liability. It's just there's now too much being asked of him.
No, he is a
And
liability because of
simply
that.
put,
Yeah.
but that's the thing, right? Because he wasn't actively a detriment. It's just that he was so focused on not being a liability that he left other parts of the field open,
Mm.
right? And Victor Lottery had to just do that much more running, and then that New York got that much more of the ball, got that much more freedom to kind of operate in a place that Samuel Piet would usually have completely locked down. So yeah, I think this is kind of a situation where he deserves to stay at the club, but not as a starter, I think. And Victor Laturi, who had, a really good run of form this summer, has kind of started to cool down a little bit. And I need him to bring that level up because the last couple games he's been very quiet and he has not dictated the tempo of the midfield like he has before.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough for any midfielder, especially Victor Loturi has played so many minutes, um, and then he kind of loses the people he's been playing with, Nathan Saliba, and and Samuel Piet was out injured. Like he's also tried to do his best. What I really like from Victor Loturi, from what I saw, was his play with Ivan Jaime. It was spectacular, and as you mentioned, he's kind of the facilitator, right? And I think he did a great job facilitating that role offensively when CF Montreal was on the um, when CF Montreal, was on the offense. I think he did a fantastic job. But I agree with you in the sense that Samuel Piet, as much as important of a role that he has on this team outside of the field, in the field, I'm starting to question it because Samuel Piet yesterday, it felt like at sometimes the game was going faster than he could handle.
1,000,000%. one
And
million
it's
percent.
also because New York seemed so much more like they were flowing in their game, like they understood what they wanted. And like I mentioned earlier, they were a lot of moments, especially early in the game, especially when they gave up those 2 goals. That if you look, forget about Efrain Morales getting beat or whatever. Think about before that. Before that, Henadi Senchuk missed a terrible pass on Samuel Piet, which just fell down on the floor, which led to the transition for Red Bull. But before that, you look at the midfield and it's wide open. In New York, I think he had their center back number 5, I believe. I forgot the number. that just ran across the whole midfield by himself because Victor Lotori, they were playing again that defense that Marco Donadel likes to play, which is the man-to-man, and Victor Lotori was dragged all the way to the top. And then the center back just beat him, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna go. So again, Victor Lotori, loved him offensively. Defensively, he was a liability. Samuel Piet, offensively, he actually had 2 shots yesterday, which I was very surprised.
Yeah.
And they could have actually been goals. But that's what you want from Samuel Piet. Like you mentioned, maybe at the 70th minute, 60th minute when they're winning a game, and he can maybe add on that the killer goal or whatever, or you just need to park the bus and need to finish a game. It's going to be a tough conversation, I think, with the fans to understand that because a lot of fans do connect with Samuel Piet.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the fans understand. Samuel Piet is a club legend, undisputed, but he needs help. The midfield needs help.
Yeah, and our friend Himo Fung Chang says if Lotori still is the most important midfielder next season, this Montreal team will be in trouble again. They need serious help. Kind of what you mentioned, right, Elias? That they need help in midfield, and we'll talk about that in the post-mortem of the season. So that was kind of my hot take, right, Elias? I wanted to know, should Samuel Piet be shut down for the season, injury or not?
I'm not going to say shut down, but definitely not starting. I just don't think it's good enough. And again, having him come off the bench, sure, but not as a starter. No.
Yeah, and Pat asks, can they play some type of zone / man-to-man hybrid? Is that a thing?
I mean, can they? Yeah, but we're not in the coach's room, right?
It's beyond that, Elias. That they're also very young. And Marco Donadel always says in the press conference, he's like, I'm dealing with kids that are our average age is 22 years old. That takes experience. You have to nail down one kind of defense before learning a new one. You have to be able to get the right profile of players that are actually very flexible in defenses. And that's just not where CF Montreal is at now. So we're going to move on to the attack because we've been talking a lot about the attack, which was very interesting yesterday. I found it very interesting. I don't understand personally, especially if Hennady Sinchuk is going away on international in the international competition for the next few weeks, why they would give Dante Sealy a start again, because he's obviously going to start instead of Hennady Sinchuk. And why not just give Oger Escobar the start and give him a shot with Ivan Jaime and Hennady Sinchuk and him play? What do you think of that, of the attack?
I don't think that's much of a concern in terms of like fitness to rotation because the games are all a week apart now. I don't think that was really on Marco Donadel's mind. My biggest conclusion from the last month or so, especially, is I don't want Hennady Sinchuk in the 10 position. I don't want him there. He gravitates towards the right side anyway and becomes either redundant with Dante Sealy there or forces Dante Sealy to push up and become almost like a striker. And then you're not getting the best version of Dante Sealy. For me, the best version of Dante Sealy is on the left hand anyway, but we're not going to get into all that. You have 2 natural 10s, 3 if you include Bryce Duke. You have Ivan Jaime, who can play 10, who has played 10 in the past, who prefers being on the left, who has the skill set and the quality to play at the 10. And you have Oger Escobar, a number 10. I personally don't want to see Hennady Sinchuk in the number 10 position for the foreseeable future, at least for the rest of the season. If, he gains some maturity in the next year and he shows that he can kind of have a bit more positional discipline, then I'm willing to revisit this and I'm willing to eat my words. But right now, the Hennady Sinchuk that we see is too narrow-minded to play in a place that is as versatile and nuanced as the middle of the field, and B is so good on the right-hand side. Whenever he drifted out wide and he played on the right, he was untouchable. He beat his man every single time. He was exceptional. My only problem with his game is that he wasn't playing right wing, he was playing 10. So I'm seeing all that awesome stuff. I'm like, that is fantastic. Where's the 10? Oh, that's the 10. Right. And so, yeah, I have a bit of a problem with that. On the other side, Ivan Jaime is very clearly the best player on this team. I think that is beyond discussion. Just in terms of talent, quality, execution, all those things, he's obviously a cut above. There's a reason he's a designated player. and it's gonna come, right? He's had 2 starts. He's gonna get comfortable with this team. He's gonna get comfortable with the people. But from what I've seen already, his willingness to combine with Prince is also another reason I don't mind seeing him at the 10 because they found each other so often and so effectively. They were doing 1-2s in the penalty area. You
Right.
know, that is exactly what you want from a TAM and a designated player kind of duo. So put him wherever you want, put him where he's most effective. I get that. But him and Prince together, especially if you give them a year, are gonna look super good.
Yeah.
But again, I do think they need I don't think they need reinforcements in the attack. People like Sunusi or Mahala are very clearly on their way out,
Who?
right? They're not. Owen Graham Roche and Alex Guboglu have proven that they are physically at the level of MLS, but technically and maybe tactically not there yet. And if you're going to get rid of Giacomo Vrioni, which I mean, it's probably going to be the case,
Yeah.
given that he's played like 5 games. He's missed more games this season through injury than his entire career combined, except for the 3 months he missed with a broken leg, right? You remove that, and every other injury that's caused him to miss games is fewer than this season alone. And so,
Yeah.
with respect, I really enjoyed the few games he played. I thought that there was something there, but if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And
Right.
it doesn't look like it's meant to be. But that means you have to bring someone in. You can't just go, we just lost 3 strikers, 3 attackers. I think we'll be okay. No, you need to bring in top level players. So yeah, my Sam kind of said it right. The biggest need this season is the box mark midfielder. I 100% agree with you, Sam. Also, hey Sam, how you doing?
Yeah.
Another one is a top level striker. Another top level striker, because a different kind of profile from Prince, something different, but another elite player at that level because you absolutely need it. And those are the 2 biggest things on my shopping list personally for the offseason. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about their game because they didn't score. They played a terrible game. But there are stuff to be excited about. They just have to put it on the field.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Honestly, the first 30 minutes of the game were probably the worst. Honestly, no, I'll say the first half of Henadi
It was
Sinchuk's game
miserable.
yesterday was probably the worst version of Henadi Sinchuk that I've seen since he first came to CF Montreal. Since the first game, it was terrible. It was terrible. He could
Mhm.
not connect with anybody. He could not connect with Prince Owusu. He couldn't connect with Dante. No, he actually connected well with Dante Sealy, but that's it. There was nobody else, and then he seemed to get stuck on himself. He seemed to be overthinking a lot of things, and even the simplest passes that he could do to Prince Owusu that before would have been amazing from him, he just didn't seem to be able to do. So it was shocking. It was a shock. It was a shock to see him like that, to see him play so badly. But Ivan Jaime on the other side, but I do have to say, once he went, as you mentioned, to the right, it's incredible. It's an incredible change. He's so
Oh, he was
natural.
unplayable
He's
yesterday on the
so
right.
natural. And especially when David Bogai comes back in the picture. We didn't talk about the subs, but David Bogai came in, I believe, in the 78th minute. I forgot what time he came, but it's a game changer because they understand each other's games. They get how they want to play, and it liberates both of them. Which again, we're going to talk a little bit. In a little bit, I want you to give your hot take whether this season, these next games, what their purpose are. But yes, on the left side, Ivan Jaime, I finally this game can say I understand what CF Montreal saw and why they're investing. They put that DP status on him.
Mhm.
His game is something. He can literally take on players and make them look silly, and still you can see his head is working in a million different directions where he's seeing where the attack can go. But there are still, as mentioned earlier when we were talking about Luca Petrasso, there are some decisions that you look at that he makes and you're like, what is he doing right now? Why did he do that? Why? But again, the attacker's mind sometimes is a little bit
What's
selfish.
going on in that guy's brain?
So it was nice to see, but there
Yep.
clearly has to be work to be done. Prince Owosu, I was very critical of him last week. I said that I didn't understand if he was frustrated. If there was, I felt like he was back. I saw his hustle.
Much better. Much better.
I saw him box out a lot of the defenders, and as you mentioned, just kind of do those short passes that he needed to make to make sure that the other players around him were fed and had the opportunities. But yeah, I just Dante Sealy. I don't know, man. I think he's a backup. I don't understand why they continue starting him. I think we have profiles enough for him to not start. I think he should. He's that kind of player. At least right now, is the kind of player that needs
Mhm.
to maybe come in for 30 minutes at the end of the game and create maybe I don't know a spark with the offense. But right now, it just feels like every time, yeah, were there questionable fouls, maybe, but at the same time I think he at this point of the season, he's still playing like we saw at the beginning of the season where he gets thrown around easily. Sometimes I feel like he goes straight in the line and the defenders just kind of attack him from the back. Um, I don't know, man. I think he's got a lot of potential, Dante Sealy, but it's a little bit frustrating. And yesterday he was being turned around on defense. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean it's gonna be exciting. Now, what I wanted to know, because we saw 90 minutes of Ivan Jaime and Henry
Mhm.
Sidgwick together. Same question that I asked for Jalen Neal and Efrain Morales. Does it give you hope for 2026 seeing 90 minutes of them?
If CF Montreal can get those two guys consistently playing at that level, no injury problems, nothing like that, and then on top of that, you put even Prince. Prince has become an excellent, has been a revelation. And then you have Jorge Escobar, or you have an experienced 10 to come in and either mentor Escobar and play, and they play and they share the workload. There should be everything you want. Now Marco Donadel has no, I need this or I need that. No, you have everything you need. As a starting four, you have absolutely everything you need to not just dominate, but to be, especially at home, not just dominate, but to be lethal anytime on either side of the pitch. Because for 90% of the season this year, they've been one directional, right? It's either Sinchuk or Sealy on the right, and then they combine and everything happens to the right. And then the left is just for, a cross or maybe the final act to score, and that's pretty much it. There's been no creation on the left. Now you have someone like Ivan Jaime who can't just create, but it could do everything. That takes all the pressure off the right-hand side, and then you can now be as versatile as you want. So everything everything is set up for you next season. If you make the right moves and you bring in a decisive attacker to help reinforce, especially someone with experience, everything is there for you to be not just a competent team, but a competitive team. The problem is, are you going to pull the trigger? And there you have to say, okay, is this team really dedicated to the rebuild? Are they going to splash some cash on a designated player or a high TAM level player that's going to be a difference maker? And we're not in the room with them, so we'll have to wait for the window to open because your guess is as good as mine.
Well, last week, and this is kind of a hot take, right? Because last week in the press conference after the loss, Marco Donadel said, I have to make a decision. I have to make a decision whether I still want to win games in 2025 or I want to prepare for 2026. He said that. And I felt like he answered that a little bit yesterday.
I disagree. You can do both.
But
You
he
can
said he has to make a decision.
No, but fielding the best players on your team right now are players that are going to be important next year anyway. So I feel like you can't do one without the other. You can't, like, if you're playing to win, you're playing Jaime, you're playing Escobar, you're playing Sinchuk, you're playing,
Are you playing Pietz
Bugai.
to win?
No.
So
But
what are
the
we
thing
doing?
is, you don't play. But if you're playing Piet, you're doing neither. You're not preparing for next year. You know everything there is to know about Simon Piet,
Yeah.
and he's not going to get you a win this year. So you're doing neither.
So my question for you is, based on what you saw yesterday, what's his decision? Is he preparing for 2026 or is he trying to win games in
My
2025?
answer is you cannot do one without the other. Because it's not like you have a really good player who is out the door next year. It's not like you still have George Campbell and Nathan Saliba on your team that that this window they're gone, and so then you have to make a decision whether or not to prioritize their minutes to get a win now, or you want to work on other stuff for next year. No, everyone here that will get you a win. I'm talking about there's 5 people I think 6 people I think are absolutely crucial to CF Montreal next year. And that's Prince Owusu, Ivan Jaime, Olher Escobar, Hennady Sinchuk, Jalen Neal, and Ephraim Morales. You can throw in names like Bugai and Chili. You can throw in other names like that as well. But those are the 6 that I think are the core that you're going to build next year's team with. If you're playing to win tomorrow, all 6 of those players are on the field. So as far as I'm concerned, you cannot play to win this for the rest of the year and not also be preparing for next season.
Of those players that you mentioned, because you did say they're the core, but if I'm not wrong, Ivan Jaime is not a guaranteed for next year, correct? He's on a loan.
He's a loan player technically, but if they don't bring him back, I'm going to lose my mind.
But he has to, based on what they said, this is the communication that was said. He has to meet certain criteria to be back next year. We don't know what the criteria are.
That's true. If it's on field, he's already met them. If we're not talking stats, if we're talking about a certain level of quality, he's already met them. He's the best player on the team, so he's already met them. If he wants to come back, the club should do everything in their power to make it an actual transfer, not just a loan. Everything they can.
I think what really answered for me yesterday, because I was actually wondering, like, are we trying to win tonight, or are we trying to just prepare for 2026 and give the fans something to be excited for the future? And you're right. I mean, you can't do one with the other. It's true. But at the end of the day, it's a loss, and it's a heavy loss at Stade Saputo 2-0 against a New York team that obviously is there to win. They're not preparing for 2026. They're aiming to go to the playoffs now. And I felt like I didn't really get an answer yesterday, but what really gave me the answer, Elias, was the post-game press conference when I heard it. Because I heard Samuel Piet and I also heard Marco Donadel, and they were both like, yeah, but we played well. It went well, and things are good, and it's exciting for the next year. And it's like, so what's the message here?
I just know Thomas Jullier was listening to that answer.
He would have flipped.
Seething. He's
seething. But that's, as a fan, you hear that. Yeah. And you're thinking, oh, are we all like kumbaya here in the locker room? Like everything's going to be fine for 2026? Or are we actually upset that they lost? That they lost a game again at Stade Saputo? How many victories have they had at Stade Saputo this year? It's... Elias held up his finger. Two wins as the... Two wins as the, and I think one of them was New York NYCFC, right? And anyways,
one was NYCFC, and I don't remember the other one.
And yes, that does include having played Forge FC at Stade Saputo.
They lost to Forge FC. That doesn't count.
Exactly. So I think moving forward, they have to make the message clear with the players, with everything. By not playing a Giacomo Brioni, I don't know what his health is, or a healthy Sanusi Ibrahim, or a Mahalo Poku. I really don't know, Elias. And these are players, we're talking about players right now that are not playing, that have MLS experience, as opposed to Ivan Jaime and Hennady Sinchuk. These are players that don't have MLS experience. So if you really want to win, in my opinion, you would put players that know the league better, that you don't have to teach them how the league works, right?
They're not playing good enough.
So training, practice, right? Yeah. So it's going to be, I think a lot of answers are gonna be and I asked you last week for a hot take, and I'll ask you again this week for the same hot take, Elias. Is Marco Donadel back next year? 1 week difference. Last week you said not if he continues. Last week you said not if he continues coaching the way he coached or doing the decisions he made last week. How do you feel this week after the decisions he made?
Dude, honestly, I don't know. It's so up in the air, and he's been so coy about it too. He's like, I'm here because I love the club and I want to help the club in any capacity. Just say you want to be coach, man.
Yeah.
It's clear he lives for this shit.
Yeah.
He loves it. You wouldn't be running up and down, terrorizing every single fourth official and all of pro referees if he didn't love this shit. So, you don't have to like dance around the fact that you want to be coach. I think he's almost like hedging his bets in case he doesn't be coach to stay on as an assistant. Because if he says I want to be head coach, and he doesn't become head coach, he may have to leave or something, because there's just tension.
It's just gonna be
And
weird, like it was when Laurent Courtois was there.
and I understand that, but at some point you have to stake your claim, right? The, he's still in the good graces of the fans as the footballing entity of Marco Donadel still has good grace with the fans. It's clear that the players have bought into what he's selling, right? Whether or not you personally think that the man-to-man and all the stuff that he's doing is worth it or not, it's clear that he has won over the confidence painstakingly. He's won over the confidence of the majority of the group because they're doing the stuff and they're doing it properly. But Jesus Christ, I think they're going to keep on. Look, there's tomorrow morning, Gabriel Javez meeting the press, and I'm sure he's going to be just as coy about the future of Marco Donadel, because I think there's really only one piece of news that anyone cares about right now. It's not signings, because there's not going to be any signings. Is Marco Donadel the coach next year? There's no other piece of news that's worthwhile in the CF Montreal media sphere. So
I think they announce him tomorrow.
You think so? I don't think they're gonna do. They're not gonna do it at a foot golf tournament, dude. They're gonna do it in a press conference they call. It's not gonna be at some charity event. They go, by the way, Marco's coach now. No, that's not. That would be insane. That would be so dumb. It would be psychotic.
Would you expect anything?
That would be so on brand. Oh my god! No. If Marco Donadel is going to be announced as coach, they'll either call a press conference or they'll do it at the postmortem. They'll say, "We're here. Marco is officially coach. Go ahead, ask your questions."
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Marco's here. He's not going to be coach next year. Go ahead, ask your questions. Right? If they make a decision, they're going to call a press conference. And so for that, I have no answer. The same answer I had last week. It's shit, man. I don't know.
I think his answers are pretty much, like you said, kind of taking the blame off of him, where if the fans don't like him, if he does leave and the club doesn't like him, then he says, oh, well, anyways, I did this for fun. I was just put in a position. I was put in the position because they let go of their head coach, but I did this for fun. But if he does say that he wants to be coach and then the club doesn't accept him, moves on from him, then it looks bad on him. So I think he's kind of, in a sense, protecting himself. I still think, in my opinion, I'll say the same thing as last week. I still think that the club wants him, but he wants reassurances. He's waiting for CF Montreal to prove that they're serious about giving him a decent squad to work with. Because as of 2025, had he called it at the beginning of the year, Elias, I'll remind you that now. He said, this is the worst CF Montreal team. And this was, again, in February, I think he said it. This is the worst CF.
Not yet.
No. I'm not talking about the results. I'm not talking about the results. He was looking at the names, the talent. He was looking at the people we had in the squad, and he was like, this is the worst squad this team has had. And
if you had told me at the beginning of the year that, Giacomo Vrioni and Jalen Neal and Henry Sinchuk and Fabian Herbers were all going to miss upwards of like 15 games, then I would have agreed with you. But if all four of those players play even 25 games, then no, we're not having this conversation. We're not. Respectfully, we're not.
Yeah, but I don't know. He called it, and now it's kind of proving to be true. But it's true that it's circumstances.
Yeah, I mean,
it's true. I mean, it's circumstances, but it's soccer, and soccer injuries happen in every sport, and
that's true.
And it always depends on how the team reacts. And I don't know, CF Montreal reacted the best way in 2025. So Patrick says, yes, if he's not, they better have someone lined up. Just before we end the show, Sam did ask a question a little bit earlier, but we did talk about it. So I didn't want, he said, hi guys, not sure if you talked about him, but I liked Hidalgo. He had a really tough ask of a man marking Forsberg and did quite well. Can't fault him for Donadel's tactical choices. Man-to-man has to go. I mean, I like the man-to-man. I do, because it gives a little bit more of accountability of the player. I like it, but I understand that it's a liability in the MLS. I don't know if it works in the MLS, especially because it's so spread out as a league.
You play on the biggest field in MLS, or tied for the biggest field in MLS. Playing man-to-man is if you go to NYCFC and you want to play man-to-man because you're playing in a shoebox, fine. But you're playing Stade Saputo, which is, yeah, I think it's first or second or tied for first for the biggest, surface area in the league. It's a lot, especially if you have people like Sinchuk or people like Ivan Jaime as wingers who, again, whose work rates defensively are not super high. You're asking a lot of them. Or you have someone like Samuel Piet who has lost a step. It's you're asking a lot. So I don't know how effective it is. I do think that there's some validity to man, but it needs to be more nuanced. It can't be everyone or like eight out of the 10 outfielders have a man-to-man assignment, and then you have people floating. That's too many people. If you want to have like 2 or 3 people whose jobs are is to man mark, especially the danger people, like what Hidalgo did with Forsberg, or like what Morales did with Triple Moting, that's fine because it's specific assignments. Go for it. But there's too many people on the field with that assignment, and I'll bring you back to the game against Columbus on the road in the first half, where they played this man-to-man stuff and they got vivisected.
Yeah.
Because you play with a team that has any kind of attacking fluidity and you're dead.
Yeah.
So I think there is a certain nuance, but I don't think man-to-man as a concept is faulty. I just think it has to be tweaked.
Yeah, and you have to have the right profiles. You have to have smarter experience. As I mentioned, you have to have experienced players that understand that defense and understand that sometimes you have to turn it off. You can't always be man-to-man. Sometimes your guy that you're covering catches on to you what you're doing, and they're gonna be like, I got you, bro. I'm gonna take this center back all the way to the goalie, and then you have a wide open lane. And if the defender has no experience, well, they're gonna follow their target and they're gonna get thrown off, which we saw happen a lot this season, where players were kind of following their guy, and as you mentioned, the Columbus game was a prime example of that, of just being dragging players out of position, because it's Wilfred Nancy. Wilfred Nancy knows exactly what he's doing. So he said, yeah, you guys want to play this game? Let's dance together. And he obviously destroyed CF Montreal with it. This show was great. A fantastic 25th episode for Elias and a 52nd for me. All right. To 125 more. But I swear, by the time this show, by the time this show is gonna be done, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, we're on episode 1040.
1040.
And I'm losing my mind. But thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. As always, the podcast will always be free to listen and watch on all of our platforms. Make sure to check out our Patreon page for exclusive member content and all of our social media platforms for more content. Follow my account as well as Elias' account on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, Facebook, anywhere. You can find us everywhere for daily updates of CF Montreal Roses and Canada men's and women's national team. Big shout out to all of you who joined the Patreon this week. And thank you again to all of you who tuned in tonight. And see you next week for episode 240 of The Ball is Round.